now what do I want my legacy to be? What's my legacy project at the end? Your project is your life. Your project is the way you on the daily live your legacy. May only love surround you. May only love surround you.
Leads me on to my next question which is how do you help people reconnect with what matters when they've lost touch with themselves?
100 years ago, we cared for our dying at home. We vigiled at home. We dug the graves. We washed the bodies. Death was a part of our everyday life, intergenerational households, all of that. And that's slowly sort of been stripped away as it's been medicalized and commercialized, the industry.
Welcome, everybody. This is Simon Phillips and The Change Show. And it's wonderful to have you back here. If you're enjoying these programs, then please share the links with your friends and let's grow our community of people that are looking to make change happen and make an impact in the world. So you're very welcome back here, as is my special guest today, who's not a return visitor, but I'm hoping we'll see her many times in the future as well, because I've had a preliminary couple of conversations with her and I know you're going to love to meet her. So my guest today is Karla Combres. Have I said that name correct, Karla?
You have. Amazing. First try.
Excellent. And Karla is a legacy guide, celebrant, and workshop facilitator who helps individuals and organizations explore meaning, creativity, and growth at pivotal life moments. She works with people to design personal rituals, reflect on legacy, and navigate life transitions with presence and purpose. Karla is based in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada, and joins me today all the way from there while I'm sitting here in the warm afterglow of a rosy afternoon in southern England. What's it like where you are, Karla?
You've got a fresh blanket of snow here in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. So I expect I'll be doing a little bit of shoveling later today to get my cardio in. But it's quite lovely. It's like a snow globe outside.
Oh, fabulous. Well, you're very welcome, Karla. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Simon.
So, Karla, that was your formal introduction, if you like. Why don't you talk me through a little bit of your journey? How did you end up doing this wonderful set of activities that you're doing now? What was the career path, if you like?
Sure. A path is a great way to refer to it because it truly is a path that I'm still on. I don't feel like I've arrived yet. And if I were to look back, I think there were little inklings of this even from my early childhood. I used to say I wanted to be a part-time preacher, part-time teacher. You know, when everyone else was answering doctor, fireman, and those kind of standard answers, I said I wanted to be a part-time preacher, part-time teacher. And today, although I'm not affiliated with any faith tradition, I'm not preaching any dogma, I do hold sacred space and help guide people through some of those existential questions that people often turn to religion to help them with. But it's more meeting on a human to human level. And so it's something kind of I strayed from for many years and then came back to about a decade ago when I did a real deep dive into the end of life sphere. I started attending and then hosting something called Death Cafe, which is a community event to normalize conversations around dying and death. And they are not morbid, I promise you. You know, the first time I went to one, I was living in North Carolina, and I thought I might see a bunch of goths or something. I wasn't sure what to expect. And it was just this lovely, intimate container. We were about 6 people at that one, very diverse cross section of people with different experiences, some having experienced the death of a close loved one and others just curious and, you know, maybe fearful. And when I started hosting them here, when I moved back to Saskatchewan, we had university students and people approaching end of life, people with terminal illness, people who had experienced a near-death experience, you know, people who wanted to talk about planning for end of life, advanced care directives, health issues. It was a real cross section and there was an aliveness in the room. Like people were finally given permission to talk about this thing that otherwise in polite company, we don't necessarily know how to navigate.
Mm.
And so this, it was first death cafes, and then I kind of got into down the rabbit hole. I did a home funeral practicum. I co-established a local threshold choir to sing songs of ease and comfort at the bedsides of the seriously ill and dying. I trained as a funeral celebrant. And at a certain point, my dad looked at me and he said, "You're really into death, eh?" And I realized that that's how it must look from the outside, but that there was something more. There was something underlying
Mm.
all of this. And it's really taken me these 10 years to get closer and closer to what that is. And so sometimes it's hard to describe what I do in words. And I think it's more of a feeling. It's more of a connecting with helping people to connect really with the light inside of them, helping them connect more deeply with their communities, especially when they're navigating transitions, whether that's in ceremony or in artful conversations. So it's about connection. It's about getting at what I've started calling the heart of being human. So, yeah, again,
Oh,
it's
love
a
it.
path journey, and it's a lot of fun to see where it's going.
I love it. So, for those who are listening who will never have heard of a death cafe, so Carla, tell me the death cafes you talked about. If somebody was to join you in the middle of one of those, what would they see? What would they hear? How are people engaging in those sessions?
If you go to the website Death Cafe, I think it's .com or .org. This is a social enterprise, not for profit. So if you go to the website, you'll see a Death Cafe being hosted online or in person virtually every night of the week somewhere in the world. And if you list your event under Death Cafe for that kind of recognition, you are agreeing to not charge for attendance. So it's usually by donation to cover costs. There will always be something to kind of break bread, some tea, dainties, coffee, what have you. Almost like a conversational lubricant, to help
Yeah,
make people feel comfortable as they approach this conversation, if they're not. And also agreeing not to proselytize or sell any products or services. So it's really not a place for commercial exchange. It's a place
yeah,
to create community and like I said before, normalize these conversations. I remember the first one I hosted, which was 10 years ago. We put it in the local newspaper, and there were a lot of silver-haired people in the room, people desperate to have these conversations. We would have sort of a maximum number just for the venue capacity of about 75 people. And after that first one, word kind of got out, and then we created a Facebook page and started promoting it at different philosophy clubs on campus and things like that. And the tickets, the free tickets would be reserved right away. We would post it
right.
and they're gone. And I've seen that in this last decade, especially, the pendulum.
Mm.
We're returning to something that used to be normalized 100 years ago, 50 years ago, maybe not 50 years ago, depending on where you live. But,
Yeah,
100 years ago, we cared for our dying at home. We vigiled at home. We dug the graves. We washed the bodies. Death was a part of our everyday life, intergenerational households, all of that. And that's slowly sort of been stripped away as it's been medicalized and commercialized, the industry. And now the pendulum is slowly swinging back. And of course, a lot of those things, the medical care, the funeral industry, those are important services. But I think we're sort of trying to recalibrate and find this happy middle, as people have done with birth as well, where it went from home births to highly medicalized, and now there are birthing centers and highly trained midwives and doulas to companion people to give to claim that participatory element that is so important as part of being human in all
yeah.
of life's transitions.
No, I love it. So, what was it that caused you to shift from sort of traditional life coaching to more sort of ceremonial and ritual work?
Hmm. Well, I never did do traditional life coaching.
Okay.
So it wasn't a shift per se. As I said, when I was a little girl, I talked about being a part-time preacher, part-time teacher. I've always been a spiritual seeker, a person who looks for meaning, who loves, sort of relishes in the questions, not necessarily searching for answers. And when I discovered that it was possible to be a secular celebrant, that this was a thing, I was just so drawn to it. And I remember it was right around the time where I was doing the deep dive into end of life and had established this local threshold choir to sing at the bedsides, and just really saw the impact of bringing reverence and real care and intention to these moments,
Mm.
I just felt very, very drawn to it. And around that time, I discovered some lovely training. At the time, it was through the Celebrant Foundation and Institute to become a life cycle celebrant. Today, it's under the umbrella of the Natural Transitions Institute. But I did this deep dive, and I continue to learn. I'm some of my mentors are through natural transitions, others, Amy Wright Glenn through the Institute for the Study of Birth, Breath, and Death, many teachers over the years. And I think actually for a lot of years, it was about learning as much as I could. And the last few years, it's been about rather than reaching out for information, it's looking within more and really returning to um, like letting all of those lessons integrate and become really a part of who I am, and then showing
Mm.
up with my full self to whatever whoever I'm working with.
So you work with everybody from birth through to death. So
Right.
what are the common threads that you're finding through your work of all of those activities and those interactions and engagements? What are there, apart from the fact that these are all human beings in your community? What other threads are you spotting and identifying?
Um, there are a few things. One is just how essential these things are. As society has become increasingly secular, multicultural, we live in societies with a lot of secularity, but then also people with different religious backgrounds. So not sort of a lot of unifying rites and
Mm.
traditions.
Mm.
The baby has, for lack of a better metaphor, been thrown out with the bathwater.
Mm.
And a lot of people, especially the ones that I work with or who tend to come to me, really don't know what to do when they're navigating a transition. They don't have these trusted scripts to fall back on and dogma. And so then many people just opt to do nothing. Let's think about, a baby is born. Well, if we're not going to do baptism, what's the alternative? And
Mm.
because it's not necessarily out there as something clear to do, people aren't sure what to do. Or increasingly, when we read the obituaries, it says no service. They've
Yeah.
asked for nothing to be done. And it's really doing a disservice to ourselves, to our families, to our communities to not do anything. But I think because people think it needs to be this big religious thing or this ceremony that lacks any connection with the person, mispronouncing the name, not getting the facts right, or in my opinion, even worse, only based on fact and not getting at that essential part of who a person was,
Yeah.
we're missing out. So across all of the work that I do, it's like this remembering, and it's not me bringing it and giving it to people. It's me helping them remember and access what is actually inside of all of us.
I like that.
Um, and so I hear all the time people saying, I was afraid. It takes some courage. I was afraid. I wasn't sure how it was going to go. Actually, in one of the most recent ceremonies that I did, it was a celebration of life. And I hosted people were scattered everywhere. So a lot of the work I do is online. And sometimes I
Mm.
don't meet the people until the day of, if it's an in-person ceremony. Hosted all these story circles with various different groups sort of from this person's life. In one of the conversations, it was with the deceased's wife and daughters. And they said, I think dad would think this was silly. All this, conversation about him and asking about his life. I think he would think it was silly. And then when we had the conversation and when we were able to weave together all of these beautiful examples of the core qualities of who this person was, how he lived, how he loved, how he moved through the world, what legacy he's leaving behind, what impact he's leaving behind, it's like it all came together and they said he would have loved this. This would have been the kind of event he would have wanted to be at because it wasn't drab, it wasn't monotonous, it wasn't anonymous. It was really about him and it elevated who he was and it brought the community together then too. So I think the key thing there is courage. It takes courage to meet these moments because you can do it in a superficial way, but that's actually not meeting the moment then. So it takes some courage to go a little bit deeper, curiosity, And it's like a remembering that we all have this within us. We are social beings, ritual beings, and it's what gives our lives nuance, more than just sort of coasting through.
Yeah. And you talked there about the ritual that you're introducing into these environments, and obviously the examples you gave about remembering people and bringing to life, if you like, all of their being, not just the anecdotal activities that they completed. How do you bring that same approach to a ceremony where maybe people are getting married? What's the ritual there that you're trying to unearth and reveal for everyone?
For those, again, it's always about it. I always start with story. So rather than starting with a script or starting with a template of this is what it's going to look like, and
Mm,
that's where it takes courage because and curiosity because it feels good to know. It feels good and comforting to and in a situation where we feel vulnerable, maybe, um, or in the case of a death, especially where everything is turned on its head and
yeah.
we're grasping for something we can control. Feels good to know it's going to look like XYZ. But I always flip the script and start with story and let that inform the different parts. So in the case of a wedding ceremony, we're looking at how you got here, you know, who you are as an individual, who has shaped you, who has been part of your story, because it's more than just about the couple, right? It's about
Mm,
the community as well and how they became who they are today. Really looking at intentions for their lives together, what promises they want to make, what they hope for, what they love about their partner. And then moving forward, coming back to the community. So integrating the guests not as just passive witnesses, but as active witnesses, that it actually matters that they're there,
mm,
that something is also shifting for the members of the community when this marriage is taking place. Often, people will come to me and say, we just want something short and sweet. And I've learned over the years that that's because they've either been to a really long 3-hour mass wedding and they don't want their guests to be bored and they want their guests to remember the party, to remember all of that. And you may have heard that cliche, people won't remember what you said or did, they'll remember how you made them feel.
yeah.
The same can be said for any ceremony. It's really not about how long it is. It's not about all the fancy things you put in there or about the place settings or the flowers or the photos or the dress. It's about the way people feel when they
Mm,
come together. It again, it's yes, it's in the case of a wedding, it is about the couple, but it's also about the community. And these coming together, these communal ceremonies are also become part of this larger narrative of everybody's life. We spoke about this last time we talked, Simon, about how they become like these touch points. And
yeah.
when people are sitting there at your wedding, you often see people reach out and take the hand of their partner. It's like they're remembering the vows that they made,
Mm,
or they're remembering a loved one who isn't there because they've recently died, or maybe many years ago died. Bringing those people in, also the memory of those people as part of an important part of the community and a continuing part of the community. They continue to have impact and inform. Often, when I talk to couples, when I ask about, is there someone you'd like to honor who can't be there for physical distance reasons or, physical impairment or because they've died, it's like they get choked up because
mhm,
they think, "Oh, this is a wedding. This should be a joyful occasion." But if you don't bring those people in, there's like a invisible tension or shield that's happening that doesn't allow everyone to relax into it. It's like there's an elephant in the room. Everybody knows that we're not bringing up this person who's on everybody's minds and hearts. And when we do, again, it's that courage piece. It opens a vulnerable place, but allows us to move through and then actually feel the joy of the event much more than we could if we didn't allow some of those other emotions in.
yeah.
And that can be said for any kind of ceremony.
I love that. I love that. And as you say, we were chatting about those sort of community and family rituals last time, and I was sharing with you that in our family, there were the ritual was the family party, which seemed to happen every year. There was always a wedding, an engagement, a funeral that was being marked, and it was the time when the family got together. And because the family was so large and dispersed, they very rarely got together as a whole. So they became a real ritual, and we all were growing older through each other's eyes as we came together. And that's, but I don't think we ever saw it as a ritual. I think we saw it as an occasion, a party, and so I know that your work has expanded beyond the standard ceremonies that we all would recognize and you and I have been talking about. Can you maybe share with us a little bit more about those other things that we can mark and that you help your community to honor and celebrate?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to ceremonies, the sky is the limit, you know.
Mm.
It can be these big gatherings, it can be very small with one or two, three people, personal rituals. And, you know, I've helped people come up with a grace for their family table that resonates, or helped someone navigate the switch from being a single young man to moving into fatherhood, and sort of embracing that, letting go of some of the his old ways and moving in toward something new, and doing
Mm.
that in his community. I wasn't even there to facilitate the ceremony, but to help him think through those things. I worked with an American expat family in China who, as part of their work, would have a career of moving around every few years to come up with a ritual that they could enact every place they go to once they've established a bit of community, that it brings in their new community, but also honors where they've been and kind of helps to give them a sense of rootedness, because it's addressing this fear that they have around being unmoored, you know, with their
Mm.
children as they move
Mm.
around. So again, sky's the limit, retirements, all of those things. And then there's also, you know, what wouldn't necessarily be considered a life milestone, but I work with people to tell their stories, to explore their stories beyond, again, just those chronological ways of telling, and more looking at what has shaped them and starting to see their lives beyond an event that has happened to them, and sort of reclaiming this: I am the author of my life story. I am more than the sum of everything that's happened to me. I
Mm.
am continuing to write my story. And that's part of where I was going with that very first question around what was my career path. And it's like, this is a journey, and I'm on it just as you're on it, and we're all on this thing. Who knows, you know, where our paths might lead us, but helping people to get at that deeper level that's underneath the day-to-day, the mundane.
Yeah, and that leads me on to my next question is actually, which is, how do you help people reconnect with what matters when they've lost touch with themselves?
So I've started hosting these twice a month. Every second and fourth Thursday, I host these calls, free online conversations called The Heart of Being Human. And I don't teach anything, I don't come with slides. I create a space where people can share their stories, listen to others, and something emerges from those that is so much greater than the individuals who are there. So a lot of what I do is creating these spaces for people to come together, and whether it's in a ceremony, you know, with your existing community or among strangers. And again, getting back to just remembering that we're not alone on this journey, remembering that we have the capacity to navigate, that we have people we can, you know, draw strength from. And even if it's one-on-one with a person, uh, being like a mirror for them, to have a safe place to talk through. That's not, it's therapy, it's not therapy, but it's definitely therapeutic to have someone in your corner who, you know, that you can explore and question and be heard and really felt, and truly seen and understood. But it's magical, really, what happens in the communities, like in these Heart of Being Human calls. Often I find people say, I'm sharing things here that I don't even share with the closest people in my life, because we can have the tendency in our day to day relationships to juice, it becomes routine or it becomes rote or and so to be in a space where it's cultivated, it takes some cultivation, it takes some um tending, is a word I like to do. You think of it like a garden. You don't just stick the seeds in the ground and walk away. You need to tend to them, and that's what we need to do with our lives too, with
Yeah.
our conversations, with our relationships, with our milestones. It's a tending, and when we can bring curiosity to it, love, and not make it like a chore, it just makes life so much more interesting and rich.
And can people register for those on your website?
Yes,
Ah,
yes.
fantastic.
Yeah, it's
Well,
on my
we'll
website, and
certainly.
then I've also got, if you go to heartofbeinghuman.com,
Excellent. Well,
yeah, you'll
we'll
find it
share
there.
those in the notes to this as well. So I'm just curious now, and just some quick fire questions. Have you got a funny experience when maybe something unexpected happened when you were sort of trying to piece one of these stories together? Is there anything spring to mind when I ask you that question?
Yeah, but it's not funny.
Oh, that's
I'm
okay.
sure I have funny ones too, but
The one that comes to mind is.
the one that comes to mind, I will say that in this work, again, I'm trying to come back to showing up fully and being like a mirror for people.
Mm.
And I know, I don't know what you want to call it. Like I hate to sometimes label things because it can shut people down, I think. But creator, universe, God, love, divine, whatever it is, I definitely feel that in my work. And when I cling to trying to get it right and, writing this perfect thing, it usually doesn't work. But when I let go and I enter flow and I allow insights to come through, little synchronicities, being attuned to those things, it's amazing how what can come together. So the example that came to mind immediately, I'll try to think of a funny one too. I'm not super serious all the time, I promise. But it was an end of life ceremony for a little boy who was Cree, which is First Nation here in Canada. And he loved Spider Man underwear, Spider Man toothbrush, the books. He used to wear
Yeah.
the mask and really believe he was Spider Man. And he died on the winter solstice a few years ago. And I was working together with a local Cree Anishinaabe knowledge keeper on this ceremony. And as part of my research, I wanted to understand more what the Cree worldview was around or is around the solstice.
Mm.
Just kind of bringing this curiosity to it. And I ended up learning so much about this time of year, wintertime being a time of dreaming and connecting with the ancestors, rest, all of these things around the solstice, and a time to connect with the stars. And then that took me down this other rabbit hole of Cree star stories. And there's a beautiful tradition of interpreting the constellations. You and I might be more familiar with things like the North Star, the Pleiades, these things. Well, there's a whole nother rich trove of stories, creation stories, all kinds of things. And one of them is around what we would call the Pleiades. And it's shape in the Cree star stories, it's called Pagon Kisik, which means hole in the sky.
Mm.
And it's like this hole, which is a portal between dimensions. And
Okay.
the can't remember the constellation now, but there's another constellation nearby called Kukumanagasis, which means grandmother spider. And
Mm.
grandmother spider controls those portals in the sky of moving between dimensions. So I won't go too far down the rabbit hole, but basically there's this story of the first energy being. The stars are energy beings, which we all originate from and return to upon our death,
Yeah.
according to the Cree worldview. This star woman wanted to come to Earth. She saw Pagon Kisik. She saw the hole in the sky. She could see Earth below. She wanted to go there. And Kukumanagasis told her, the grandmother spider told her, if you want to go to Earth, you need to do three things. You need to take a physical form. You need to bring a gift with you, and you have to return after your
Mm.
time there is done. And so a Chakosku star woman came to the Earth. She shared her gifts with the Earth, as we all do, And when her time came, she had to return to Earth. So there's this beautiful story that we were able to weave into the ceremony, and that like pulled in this young boy's love for Spider-Man, the way he shared his gifts with the community. We had are you familiar with a dream catcher?
Yep.
Yeah. So
Yep.
dream catchers um, catch the good things and let the bad things go through. And
Mm.
so we had a like a big willow loom made with all these strings through it. And everybody at the ceremony had a piece of fabric in the colors of Spider-Man that were tied onto the loom to represent the gifts that this little boy Kingsley left with them.
Yeah,
So at the end of the ceremony, we were left with this tapestry of color and impact and remembrance and love.
that's
And
stunning.
so those are things that I couldn't just come up with, you know? I had to trust and be curious and look for and channel to bring it through. I'm not sure if that
Mm.
answers your question, but
Do you know what? I can't remember
it's
what the question was, but that was a beautiful story. Thank you for sharing. And you reminded me of something. So you mentioned the Cree, the natives, the native Canadian group there. So you called them the
First Nations.
First Nations, and
Yeah.
the word Cree reminds me of when I was a child. So I looked this up on the internet, and there seems to be just a very small group of people in the UK, even let alone internationally, just on the south coast of Wales and just across the river into England. That when they played a game of tag or touch, we used to call it, but it's basically, you can touch someone and then they then have to go and tag somebody else. We used to have this concept of you could cross your fingers and say Cree, and that meant that you couldn't be tagged at that
Hmm,
moment. You were safe. And they found no real origin of this use of that
interesting.
word, and it doesn't come up in any other part of our language, everyday language. And I haven't said the word since I was probably about 10. um,
Oh, wow.
but but it's interesting that for us it meant safety, and I'm just that resonates with the story that you were just saying there, that these rituals keep us safe, and these
Mm.
ceremonies keep us safe in the moment. And so I just wanted to share that common word with you that we used when I was a kid.
That's lovely. I've never heard that.
No, Carla, I've just looking at the clock here. I could literally just talk to you all day. I found myself last time we were chatting, just sharing all sorts with you. You just have a wonderful personality that just is so warm and inviting, and creates that space naturally. So you've obviously found the right thing to be doing with your time. Um,
Thank you, Simon. You're a great
so
interviewer. It's easy to chat with you.
No, thank you very much. You've got to come back again. Okay, we'll find an excuse. Actually, one other quick question. So, I support a lot of people going through change, and many of those people are inside organizations. Are there any principles that you found that you think? Because I know your original career was in sort of in a corporate space as well. Are there any principles from your life now that you wish you'd known when you were working in that corporate space that might be of some value?
Something I've really learned for myself, that the greatest thing we can do for ourselves and everyone around us is to just be who we are, to share our gifts unreservedly, to not try to fit into these little boxes. And, we spend so much of our working lives, or our lives working, I should say, in our working environments. And it takes so much energy and effort to be one person in one place and another person at home.
Mm,
And so, if we can really integrate who we are and bring who we really are to all of those spaces, it makes for more diverse, rich, fruitful workplaces. It's good for our nervous systems because we're not constantly shifting gears. We need to like bring our stress levels down to make healthier societies, healthier workplaces. I would say bringing that sense of sort of shared humanity, of vulnerability. We're not impenetrable. We're not able to control everything. And so bringing some of that humanity about the person in front of you, each person is a world,
yeah.
has infinite gifts, infinite experiences that they can draw on to share. And so bringing that into our workplaces, I think, in terms of understanding that the person in front of us is much more than just who they are from 9 to 5. They have families that they care about. They're navigating change and loss and aging parents and all of
Yeah.
the things. And so bringing compassion and humanity as much as possible into our workplaces. That's what comes to mind right now.
I love it. I love it. And I think there were two words that jumped out at me when I first saw your profile on LinkedIn. One was humanity, and the other was legacy. And both of those words resonate really strongly with me. So I'm often working with clients and helping them understand that just that point you made there, that the people around us have very complex and hugely diverse lives, and they're bringing all of that experience into work, and that's worth tapping into. So that's the stuff that I'm the conversations I'm
Mm,
having. And then there's this, the word legacy has stuck with me for about 25 years now, through some of the work that I've been doing and trying to help people recognize their opportunity whilst they're here, is to um, shape a legacy that they can be proud of. And
mhm.
yeah, so it's been an absolute pleasure to spend some time with you. Now, I don't know whether
Wait,
you did
before
say that
you ask the
you
next question,
yes, yeah.
I wanted to say something about legacy there because you're
Oh,
working
great.
with leaders all the time.
Mm,
And often I think people get, let's say a founder who has their own firm, their own organization, and they've shepherded it through all these years and they're getting towards the end and they think, okay, now what do I want my legacy to be? What's my legacy project at the end? Your project is your life. Your project is the way you on the daily live your legacy, not
mm,
something that you can think about and invent at the end. And so I think that's where you and I, Simon, have so much in common,
yeah,
is really in helping people consider their legacy now and how they want to live now.
yeah.
Just wanted to add that little
No,
bit
thank you.
to what you were saying.
Said it much better than I was struggling to, so
Yeah.
thank you. So I know you've listened to one or two of the podcasts before, so you'll know that you can't get off the show unless you share a track to add to the Change Show playlist, which everybody can find on Spotify. So tell us, Karla, what track has accompanied you on this journey?
Okay. Are you ready for it?
Yeah.
It is so different from everything on your playlist, so I hope it's okay to include it. The song actually that I wanted isn't available on Spotify, but I chose one, a close cousin to the song.
Okay.
And it's a threshold song, which means it's part of the threshold choir repertoire that I sang at the bedsides of the seriously ill and dying. The thing about these songs is they're written expressly for that time, for these thresholds.
Mm,
So they're suitable for a person of any faith or no faith. Music holds memory, and so you never know what if I just were to go to someone's bedside and start singing Amazing Grace, This Little Light of Mine, whatever it might be, who knows what kind of memories? They might not be good memories attached to it.
yeah.
So I might not actually be offering comfort and ease. So these songs were written as original songs that don't carry that memory, but offer peace and comfort. And the reason I'm choosing this song is because I came across Threshold Choir and incorporated that in my practice at this time where I was going through this major change of leaving my work as a federal bureaucrat and surrendering to living with more heart and kind of creating my own path. And I had no idea what that would look like. So this is a song that we would sing at the bedsides, and I think it could be offered to anybody at any time. We could sing it for ourselves. It's very simple. I'll sing it for you now, um, and I'll offer you the. Is it okay if I sing it for you now?
Absolutely.
Okay, so it's normally these songs would be sung. They're almost like repetitive chants
Hmm.
and like lullabies for the end of life. So I'll just sing each verse once. I won't go on, but you can go find the track on Spotify if you want. All right. It's called May Only Love Surround You, and it's by Patricia Ann Hallam. May only love surround you. 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 May only joy 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 surround you. May only light 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 surround you. May only beauty 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 surround you. May only love 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 surround you.
That was stunning. Thank you, Karla.
May only
Wow,
love
you've
surround you.
certainly finished on a high. That was
May
amazing. Thank you for
only
sharing that. So there's
love
a sort of a cousin
surround
version of that
you.
song that people can find on Spotify as well, is
May
there?
only Yes, yeah, I'll share it with you.
Wow.
It's the group that put it out are called the Portland Threshold Voices.
Magic. Okay.
Only joy
Lovely. Thank you, Carla.
surround
That was absolutely stunning, and I've really enjoyed
only
our conversation
joy
here this afternoon. Please
surround.
come back and see us again anytime you like. And in the
Thank you.
meantime, look after yourself and take good care.
Thank you, Simon. You too. All the best in your work. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Wonderful. You've been listening to The Change Show with Simon Phillips and my very special guest, Karla Combres. And I hope you've enjoyed that. Do come back again next time and tell all your friends. We'll look forward to sharing some more insights and ideas and thoughts that will just help you go out there and make a difference in the world. Take care.